Hi everyone, this is Bao, and welcome to the Power of BAO, a channel where I share my stories of how I ended suffering and created lasting, unconditional happiness. Warning, the story I'm about to share is about suicide and may trigger some people. Viewer discretion is advised. I have had multiple suicide attempts throughout my life. I have had thoughts about harming myself since I was about 15 years old. At that age, I remember wanting to jump off the platform of a subway station and getting hit by a train. I remember lining up knives on a counter, filling a bathtub with hot water and plugging in a toaster, and later a knife, stockpiling prescriptions. And when I cried for help, I was lucky enough to have friends come to my rescue. People are always so shocked to hear that their typically happy-go-lucky friend wasn't so well-adjusted or stable. I've gone through therapy, different medications, and nothing really worked. It seemed to make me more aggressive and rebellious. I was convinced that this was all product of my upbringing. My parents weren't particularly affectionate towards me. In fact, I thought my father hated me. At least that's what I was thinking when he would hit me repeatedly with a bamboo stick as a form of discipline. I just felt alone, unloved, uncared for. What is the point? What is the meaning of life? That's what I would ponder while my classmates were talking about who they should take to the school dance or whatever. Then about 12 years ago, I went on this date with someone who I really liked. It was our 6th or 7th date, and it was starting to get very serious. He invited me over, cooked me dinner, we had great conversations, and laughed, and had fun, had mind-blowing intimacy. It was amazing, perfect. And then something really strange happened. I started crying uncontrollably, like sobbing. I had no idea what was going on. I was so embarrassed. He was like, "What's wrong? Did I do something or say something?" I said, "This is definitely not you. You've been amazing. I don't know what's happening or why, but I feel like something's coming to me. Please get me some water, and I think I can figure this out." In that moment, I flashed back to when I was 6 years old. First, what you need to know was that my family and I escaped by boat after the Vietnam War and stayed in a refugee camp in Malaysia when I was 4 years old. When we immigrated to Canada, all we had were the clothes on our backs. So needless to say, I grew up poor. My family had an apartment in the worst area of Toronto. Back in the early 80s, it was Parkdale, full of gangs, hookers, drug dealers. I remember going to school with a key to the apartment around my neck. And at 6 years old, that's first grade, I did not speak English. I walked to school 4 or 5 blocks by myself. One snowy morning, I slipped and fell on some ice and hurt myself. I looked around for help, but the only people I saw were some classmates across the street walking to school with their parents. And in that moment, I thought to myself, why aren't my parents walking me to school? I guess they don't love me. Perhaps I'm not worthy of their love. Maybe I'm not worthy of any love. And I carried these feelings right up to this present day. So fast forward to this date that I'm on, after what I thought would be the beginning of a beautiful romantic relationship. I should be happy, ecstatic. Instead, I'm curled up in a ball crying because it went against everything I ever believed about myself or what I was entitled to. Could I have been wrong this whole time? Looking back, of course my parents loved me. They were both working 2 jobs for nothing to support us. Of course I was worthy of their love. I was their only son with whom they sacrificed their lives so I could have a better future. And when I realized that while the facts didn't change, I had to walk to school by myself, I made up this story that they didn't love me, which created my life's narrative and inner dialogue. I then realized I could have made up any story. I could have made up a story that they were both secret agents on an undercover mission, and I could have felt a sense of independence or pride even. Any story would have been just as valid as the one I ultimately wrote for myself. OMG. I have been living in a story written by a 6-year-old boy. This epiphany had me reflect on my past, where I sabotaged great relationships by either cheating on them and constantly seeking for approval and love from others, or pushing them away and never feeling good enough, or being too codependent and always needing to be needed, or being jealous and suspicious and feeling like they could leave me at any moment, or put myself in a toxic relationship where I got to play the victim card and allow myself to be manipulated. This realization caused a profound shift where I was able to declare myself as lovable, as good enough, as worthy of love and happiness. For the next 10 years, I didn't have to endure all of the self-loathing and suicidal ideation. A couple weeks after I called my parents, I thanked them for the gift of life. I thanked them for raising me the way that they did. I acknowledged them for doing their best with what they had, even if I didn't like it at the time, as I was able to learn something from all this and become the person I am today. I said I was sorry for lashing out, running away from home, never calling, and not staying in touch. I took responsibility for all of my actions and my contribution in the matter, and then I said, I love you. My parents both started crying, saying that it was the only thing they ever wished to hear. They both said, I love you to me for the first time I can remember. And now we have a great relationship. I see them often, call them, and connect with them more than I ever thought I would have imagined. I've released all my anger towards them, and it just feels so great. So, did my story crack open something for you? Are you able to be as vulnerable as I just was? Can you look into the causation of your behaviors that don't serve you or your happiness? If you want to share, I'd love to hear your story. So feel free to comment below. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and like this video, share it with others. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below to get notified when I share more of my stories. They are of a heavy subject matter, but I promise there will be lessons to learn. They will all have a positive outcome and include actual things that I did or thought or contemplated that you can consider to help you break through all obstacles. Bye for now.